Hey, I'm a mechanical engineer, and this is my grabber. Grabbers are a great tool to have. If you're having difficulty bending over, they can help you pick stuff up off the floor, or if you can't reach a high shelf, they can help you get stuff down, or if you're like me and are just easily amused. But whatever your reason is for wanting one, they are extremely convenient to have around. So now without further ado, I'll show you guys how I built mine. So to begin, I got this aluminum strip from Lowe's and I cut it into 4 pieces. 2 of them were 6 inches long and the other 2 were 2.5 inches long. Once they were cut out, I then drilled out 2 holes, one on each side of the 2.5 inch piece, and then 2 more holes slightly close together on each of the 6 inch pieces right down here. And then the 2 holes on top are actually to mount these 2 90-degree angle bracket pieces that I got. These will actually serve as the claw. And we can just go ahead and put these on to make things a little easier. Now I went to the hardware store and I got some threaded post with screws. There's probably a better name for it, but that's what the bag says, so I'm sticking with it. But basically what it is a smooth aluminum cylinder that's threaded on the inside so you can put the bolt that comes with it into it. It's basically a hinge pin. And so I bought 2 1 1/2 inch pins that I'll refer to as 1 inch pins for sake of convenience, and 2 1/2 inch pins. But for the 1/2 inch pins, I cut them both down so they're just barely wider than 2 pieces of aluminum stacked on top of each other. Now we'll take both 1 inch pins and use one of them to pin our arms together using the middle holes, and the other to pin our 2 smaller pieces together. And now we'll connect the 2 pieces together using the 2 1/2 inch pins that we cut down. With that, your grabber claw is now pretty much complete. Now we can switch our attention to the main body of the grabber stick. For the body, I'll be using a 3/4 inch PVC pipe that is cut to 2 feet long. We'll want to cut a track out of the front part of the pipe just big enough to allow our back 1 inch pin to slide through it. So in order to find out how long our track needs to be, we'll take our claw, set it down in the very front, mark where the back pin is now, then close the claw and mark where the back pin is there. And then that'll give you your start and stop point of how long the track needs to be. Now there's primarily 2 different ways you could cut this out. You could A, drill a hole on each side of the line and then put a saw down there and cut out the rest. Or you could just take the drill and drill several holes all the way across until you've opened up a big enough piece to allow the pin to slide through. But whatever way you choose, just make sure that you cut through both sides of the pipe. Now with our track cut out, we'll now take a saw, cut through the side of the pipe about the same thickness as 2 of our aluminum strips and stopping just before the end of our track. Just like this. Here's the sections we just cut and here are the tracks on the side. And then to finish off the front, just drill a hole through both sides big enough to fit our hinge pin into. Now let's build the handle. Here we have a 3/4 inch angled piece and a 3/4 inch cup link. We'll put them together using a spare 3/4 inch PVC pipe piece, just like this. And then we'll slip it onto the end of the body, making sure it's vertical with the tracks that we cut earlier. And of course you will need to glue the handle together, but don't do it just yet. So now with our handle put on vertical with our track, we're now going to cut a second track to serve as our trigger. And we'll cut this right in front of the handle itself. We'll want our second track to be the same length as our first one. So I'll go ahead and measure this one. And it comes in right at 1 3/4 inches. So we'll take our marker and we'll start right in front of the handle and we'll measure out a 1 3/4 inch line. Just like this. Now unlike the first track, we do not want this one to go through both sides, we just want to go through this bottom side. And as for thickness, I'm just going to make my track thick enough to fit this bolt that I'll be using for my trigger. So with both those things in mind, we can go ahead and cut out this second track. Just like this. So now we'll measure from the front of our back track to the front of our front track, and then drill 2 holes into a 1/2 inch PVC pipe that are the same distances apart. The front hole will need to be just big enough to fit the hinge pin from our grabbing arm, and our back hole will have to be just big enough to snugly fit the bolt that we will use as a trigger. With both holes now drilled, we'll cut right beneath the bottom hole, and take our saw again to cut along the side of the pipe, 2 aluminum strips thick, just like we did for the main body. Only this time, make sure our cut goes about a 1/2 inch past the hole we drilled. And with that, we can begin to put everything together. We'll start with the most difficult part, the claw. So we'll want to insert the grabber claw into the hole that we cut out from the main body, making sure that the front hinge pin of the claw is going through the front hole and the back hinge pin of the claw is going through the guide rail that we cut earlier. But here comes the tricky part. We're going to also want this 1/2 inch PVC pipe inside the main body, pinching these two aluminum pieces with the hinge pin going through this hole as well. So it's basically supposed to look like this, only inside the main body. Just like this. Now you're going to want to take a small rubber band, or in my case a small pull spring, put it onto the hinge pins on the bottom, and then go ahead and cap them off. Like this. I actually ended up adding two, one on top and one on bottom, but you could definitely get away with just one if you wanted to. We can now put our trigger bolts into the 1/2 inch PVC pipe that's inside the main body. And after we put the handle back on and glue or screw it in place, your grabber will be finished. Now we can test it by picking up a few things. Going in for the cups. Look at that, that is unbelievable. But can it pick up the PVC pipe? It is handling it like a boss. But what about the bag? Oh my goodness, it is a ninja. And there you have it, my homemade grabber. Man, I love that. But hey, thank you so much for you guys watching. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please feel free to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And Lord willing, I'll see you next Friday.
Thank you for watching, and please feel free to subscribe.